It's the Silverstone Classic weekend, and although the event sadly had to be cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the team have been working hard to put together a weekend of racing content and classic moments to keep you entertained.
Over the course of the weekend, Tiff and I will be taking you back to past classic events to enjoy some fabulous races and incredible parades, and we'll be hearing about what the classic means to you.
The full timetable for this weekend is available on the event website at silverstoneclassic.com. And don't forget that Silverstone Auctions are hosting the Silverstone Classic live online auction all afternoon, today and tomorrow. They've got some 226 cars available to bid on. Might have to go and have a look.
We've kept Saturday and Sunday afternoon clear, so those of you who want to enjoy the British Grand Prix taking place behind closed doors at Silverstone this weekend can do just that. Right now, I'm off to hear about how a historic motor racing event at Silverstone first came about back in 1990. I'll see you in a bit, Tiff. Well, I'm joined now by Stuart Graham, the man behind the original pioneering concept of a historic festival at Silverstone. And tell us, Stuart, how did it all begin?
Well, it goes back to the late 80s when I was on the board of directors at Silverstone, the BRDC, and it became clear that we needed to look at developing some extra events in addition to the Formula One Grand Prix. And at that stage, I was involved in historic racing in a Lola and enjoying myself, and got to know quite a lot of the historic scene and the people involved. And one thing led to another. I thought, well, really, we should be doing the best historic events in the world, without a doubt, because a lot of the entrants are based here. But at that stage, it was the old-timer Grand Prix at the Nürburgring and Laguna Seca, which are the two main international events. And so very much I thought we should be doing something here, put it to the board as an idea, and they said, yeah, great idea, Stuart, carry on with it, which is great because I'd then given myself a job, which I hadn't intended, but anyway. Yes, well, we had a lot of very good contacts, and of course the beauty of the BRDC is that anybody is generally involved, so it meant that we could call on lots of favours from lots of members, but it meant that also that we could tie up with the people running their own little mini series, the Historic Grand Prix Car Association, Charlie Agg with his Super Sports, etc., etc. So one thing went to another. I spoke to lots and lots of people, got lots of enthusiastic response from among my membership especially. And before we knew it, we got an agreement to run various races, and we decided to run it a fortnight after the Formula One Grand Prix, mainly and typically because it meant we could hang on to all the infrastructure that had been put in place for the Grand Prix, save some money, of course. And so it was great. So the inaugural year was great, and we got people coming along with some seriously exotic machinery. You got John Surtees and Neil Corner with pre-war Mercedes and Auto Union, and it was doing demonstrations, and it was really great. And it was it took off better than even I expected. But part of the plan also was to expand the whole appeal a bit from not just track racing, but to all the shows in between. And we got the owners clubs involved to bring along lots of different cars and try and make it as a sort of a fun weekend, and lay on all sorts of side shows that should entertain the family and really make a really good big show, which is how it started, and this is how it's gone on. The general concept has been kept together, and Nick and his team have done a brilliant job of expanding it and tying it into the modern era as well. And of course, each generation it's added to it. So it's been a brilliant sort of success overall, starting from what seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, you must take a lot of pride in the way that the event has sort of grown and evolved over the last 30 years as well.
Well, yes, of course, it's interesting how it's grown. And of course, each era has different sort of scenes developing. You know, what are now historics were current at 30 years ago. So of course it's brought it tends to self-generate itself in a funny sort of way. And so cars that were modern at the time are now interesting for the classic scene. So it's meant that we've had some really brilliantly exciting cars coming through now, which weren't at the time. So it's interesting how it's kept itself going in its own natural way, which is interesting, and then lots of different people getting involved. But the basic concept, it seems to have matured nicely, which is great because it's satisfying for me to see. Obviously, I mean, there were lots and lots of people helping at the time, so it wasn't all down to me. It was very much a germ of an idea, but it gives me a lot of satisfaction to see how it's matured into the superb event that it now is.
Mean of me to ask you to pick just one moment, but I'm going to anyway. Pick one moment, your standout moment from the last 30 years.
Well, it's a difficult one to pick, Louise, because there have been so many, and obviously the early years, especially when it was something new and exciting, and Jody Scheckter bringing his Formula One Ferrari on and doing some demonstration laps, and there's been lots and lots of different things, which is great. Various personal ones. For me, it's watching it grow, which has been great. But it's quite strange that, funny enough, people did ask me this a while back, what's your memories of the Classic? Well, I actually competed in it a few times myself. And it was one of the things that's given us the most pleasure, I think, and it's quite from a personal point of view, was actually winning the historic Tourist Trophy, which the RAC decided they'd put together for GT cars. And Richard Knapwood and I drove Paul Michael's DB4 GT 3 successive years. We finished third the first year, second the final one year, and we finally won it in 2011. Which Paul Michaels was delighted with, and he promptly retired the car because he didn't want to risk it anymore. But for me personally, it was a nice little thing, which we didn't make a big fuss about, but having won motorcycle TTs and then the car TTs, to add the sort of historic RAC Tourist Trophy to that little thing was just a nice little personal one. So I suppose that one stands out for me personally. But overall, the events have been so great every year, and there's always been a star turn, so it's not easy to pick one out. So little extras.
Well, there is now, you have your own trophy that you present, the Stuart Graham Scarf and Goggles Trophy for the most admired car competing at the event. That is a big ask to pick just one when there are so many beautiful cars.
Well, that's a difficult one, again, Louise, because when you think about it, judging any kind of awards with outstanding lots, it's always a slightly difficult one because they're all great in their own way. You'd like to award every one of them a trophy. But yes, it stands out every year now, and we've had the most amazing people as well as the cars, the effort they've put into getting their cars together for this event or whatever they've done. And so, yes, it's a very satisfying thing to do, but it's a double of a difficult job. And it's not easy, that's for sure, but the team helped me a little bit with it, giving me a shortish list. But picking a winner out of any kind of competition, but it's all a very high level, it's not easy, but it's very satisfying. And as I say, to see the pleasure that the owners and the team get from all the work that they very often put in to be recognised is actually quite nice. So it's nice to have my name on a little trophy, which gives people a lot of pleasure.
How much are you looking forward to next year and the delayed 30th anniversary celebrations?
Well, even more than normal, because I think all the delays that we've had in this very difficult year, which has been incredibly difficult for everybody, for every angle. So it'll be nice to have these things recorded, and if it's a bit late, well, then it makes it even more useful, doesn't it? So we shall look forward to it, and hope that next year is a little less dramatic than this year, and it's a recognition to it, because it's nice to actually, because we take a lot of these events for granted, but it's amazing how the years have gone, and quite frankly I find it a little bit scary that 30 years has gone rather quickly, but then they tell me that happens when you get older.
Well, I look forward to seeing you there in person next year for those delayed celebrations. Thank you so much for joining us now though, Stuart.
Well, thank you
and
too.
It's time now to catch up with the man who is currently behind the helm. And here he is, Nick Wigley from Goose. Nick, Goose has been running the Classic for over 10 years now. Tell us how you first got involved with the event.
Well, I first came to the event in the mid to late 90s as an enthusiast, and thought, my goodness, I was in the event business. I just thought I would love to get involved in something like this. It wasn't to be. And then in the early 2000s, I got fairly heavily involved with historic racing, and got to race a number of cars there, like in sports cars and a couple of Grand Prix cars and stuff. I even proudly own a winner's trophy or two from that period. And then around 2008, 2009, we, Goose, got the opportunity to take on the running of the event. And I really haven't looked back since.
You had quite a vision for what you wanted to do, though, and you've developed the inclusive feel of the event and added a lot of bolt-ons as well to make it fully family friendly, although obviously motorsport is still very much at the beating heart of the event. Can you give me, what are your top 5 favourite things about the Classic?
Sure. Well, it is always going to be the racing. So I think the top thing is the Saturday evening race into the dusk. We've had Group C, we've had Sports Car Masters, we've had Endurance Legends, we've had a Bentley Centenary race, we've had the International GT Trophy. And it's that thing, just as you see as a spectator, the headlights sweeping towards you through the curbs. And then as they go away from you, the tail lights as they break into the next corner. I just think that is just fantastic. So that's definitely one of the highlights. I think our policy of sort of access all areas, the fact that our ticket purchasers and enthusiasts have got all this access to the garages and the assembly area for each race where everybody's crowding in. And, you know, it's the only international meeting where fans can get right up close to the cars and the drivers. I mean, it simply cannot or doesn't happen at F1 or anything. So that, I think that's really special about the Classic. I think from a personal point of view as well, the fact that we have been able to welcome so many legends of the sport to the event. Sir Jackie Stuart, celebrating the first of his championship wins. Sir Sterling Moss, who is just an absolute legend. Nigel Mansell, Stuart Graham, the man who started the Classic back in 1990. And then Wayne Gardner and Fast Freddie Spencer, who are world champions on 2 wheels. John Surtees, you know, 2 wheels and 4 wheels. And the fact that people of that kind of stature want to come and join in the fun, I think is just fantastic. The other thing was, one of the things that we introduced in 2009 was the music on Friday and Saturday nights that just gives you all this extra level of entertainment. And we've had some great artists like Carlos Santana and Status Quo and Mike and the Mechanics, the Stranglers, got Leo Lyons from 10 Years After, Kenny Jones, UB40, Soul to Soul. And then you put that late on the Saturday evening and you have these balloon glows and maybe up to 15,000 of our fans entertained. I think that is a highlight of every meeting. And then I think the 5th thing is probably the variety and the breadth of our racing content. It spans 100 years, from pre-war sports cars, early as the 20s, and then you come up through the glamorous and beautiful body GT and sports cars of the 50s and 60s. And then the touring car battles we've seen from the 60s, much more to your heart, Lou. But more recently, the pre-90s and then the 90s super touring. And then even more recently, the endurance legends with current, almost current, LMP cars and GT1s and 2s. So I think those are the 5 elements that really, really make me happy and sing about the event.
It's a huge disappointment to so many people that the events had to be cancelled this year. How difficult was it for you and your team to make that decision?
I can't tell you how sad I felt when we came to the, you know, make the decision. As you know, it's been my absolute focus for the last 10 or 11 years. We've really tried to grow it into a family-friendly festival. It's all about sociability, and the thought of running a safe, socially distanced event without compromise, it would have compromised the event just far too much. We looked at all sorts of ways of trying to run it, but it really wasn't going to work. It was going to spoil it. And we really have to think about the mix of ages of our fans and our enthusiasts. They might be vulnerable. So yeah, it was a great show. We really didn't want to do it. We waited until the last minute, but sadly had to do it. And then, of course, we looked after everybody. We've offered everybody the opportunity to either roll their tickets forward or get a full refund. And it's been amazing how supportive the reactions have been from the enthusiasts. Absolutely amazing. You know, it's been a tough time for everybody, but the team, they're talented, resilient, and they're really, really, really looking forward to making next year's event just really special.
I know there are so many people, myself included, who are looking forward to it getting back up and running again for next year. Always good to catch up, Nick. We'll chat again over the weekend. But for now, I think Tiff's been off chatting to some of the drivers who raced at the very first event. Tiff, over to you.
I've been catching up with a few old faces. Simon, you raced the 1990 event in the race for under 2 litre touring cars. It was the FIA European Challenge for Historical Touring Cars in a Ford Lotus Cortina. What can you tell us about that first event? Even though it's 30 years ago, are the memories still fresh?
They are, and yeah, it makes me feel old. It was a chance for England to have a really proper international status meeting, and to compete there was cool. And to race against Scuderia Bavaria with the BMWs and Scuderia Portello with the Alphas was my motivation.
But did you win? What happened? Tell us all.
Yeah, we won, much to both Scuderia Bavaria and Scuderia Portello's annoyance. It was a cool time. Motor racing, historic racing, was much more innocent then, I think. Good scrutineering, good cars, but there wasn't the professionalism and the big trucks and the data logging and all the nonsense we have today.
I mean, you've raced so successful with the Classic. You've probably won more races than most. In how many different cars do you think you've raced at the Classic since 1990?
I genuinely no idea. But there were some really cool moments. Winning the Masters World Sports Cars with Nick Linney in 2009 was a really super moment.
In what?
That was the T70 Mark IIIB.
Oh, T70, yeah.
Sid Taylor car.
Yeah.
And huge grids, really, really great quality of drivers. And that's what this has always stood for. It's always had really, really good attendance. And people forget that really there'd been nothing like it in England before.
Yeah. So what other cars? Trip a few more. Come on, just remind us. I mean, you've been in single seaters. Have you been
single seaters.
What other cars have you raced?
We've won the class with a Matra MS80. That was cool. We've done quite a lot with Aston Martins. We've won the TT retrospective 3 times with Wolfgang Friedrichs. It's the variety, the fact that you can on one day have cars from pre-war right the way through to really cool Grand Prix cars, Group C in later years. There's nowhere else you can go and see that spread. And as a very proud BRDC member, I think Silverstone is still such a great circuit to race on.
Yeah.
It has challenges which you simply don't get anywhere else.
Yeah. But I mean, not only you're there as a driver, you're working there because you prepare a lot of the cars that compete. So how do you combine the two jobs of being a racing driver and a car preparation specialist?
We have really, really good guys working here. That's the basic thing. In 2009, I think we ran something like 14 cars. Really don't want to do that today. We had cars in all but every race. Slightly simpler then because there was only one paddock. Today, with the international paddock and the heritage paddock, there are certain, not difficulties, you get used to it. You just step up. But that also, so you have sort of like almost one edge of the meeting in the heritage paddock and the newer stuff in the international. But then again, the fact that everybody, spectators can go everywhere. Nothing's off limits. It's total access.
Yeah.
And it's great talking to people.
Yeah. Well, the under 2 litre touring car race was set to make a return to the event this year following a 1-year break. But it will be part of the race programme next year. Will we see you back there?
I don't think so at the moment. The format's changed slightly. After racing those first couple of years with my own car, we came back in the sort of early 2010s with Leo. We did very well with his Cortina, but we've done other things now. Never say never, but no current plans.
But you'll be there racing other things.
One certainly hopes so. As I say, it's for me, it's one of the flagpole events in historic motor racing worldwide.
Great. We look forward to seeing you then. Cheers, Simon.
Take care, mate. Thank you.
Ian, you raced in the Mulberry 100-mile race for historic Grand Prix cars at the 1990 event in a 1953 Cooper Bristol. And we've got some highlights of that race coming up next. Was it a memorable one for you?
Well, it's a long time ago now, but it was very memorable because it was a much bigger event than I'd ever been in. And it was the start of something great, I think. I think it was when everything started to change. I'd been in the Historic Grand Prix Cars Association for a number of years, but after that, TV coverage came in, new organisers came into the events. We started to see things like Monaco come 7 years later, Goodwood 8 years later. The whole thing got bigger and better.
You've now been involved both as a driver and a race preparer for many years. How do you think the historic motorsport scene has changed then over those years? As you say, it's grown, but in what ways has it changed?
Well, that's when Silverstone really got me into it, because people came up to me and said, how do you get to race these fantastic cars? And I thought, here's an opportunity. I'll change a business and make a business to run the people. And then the biggest change came really later on when we got the wing at Silverstone, because that increased the size of the grids and the classic car, people coming from all around the world. I mean, it's transformed the whole motor racing scene, I think.
Certainly, it's a wonderful weekend. I think everyone's enjoying it. But what would you say then was your standout moment from the Silverstone Classic over the years has been?
Having customers, and including my son now, win and get on the podium.
Winning still the best days, are they? How many times has your son won? Is it just this one great memory from a certain year?
Well, no, it's a number of times now. He's been a bit greedy, I think. Won more than I've ever won, anyway.
Well, you
obviously had a good tutor.
Yeah. Well, it's such a shame that plans for this year's 30th anniversary event have had to be put on hold for a year. But when did you actually last manage to get out on track racing yourself? And are you starting to see things beginning to pick back up?
Well, I was very fortunate. I went to South Africa, to Pretoria and Cape Town in February. And, you know, that gave me a good fix for the start of the year. Obviously, it's been quiet since then, but now there are limited things starting. My son's been to Donington recently, and Thruxton, Brands Hatch are coming up. So things are looking good for the future, but it's a little bit, how would I say, lack of atmosphere at the moment.
So your son's been racing, but when are you going to get back behind the wheel yourself?
I'm not sure whether I'm going to race this year now. There is an opportunity, but I think just for one race, I'd be a bit disappointed. I'll wait for the Silverstone Classic.
Okay, well, it's very good to catch up with you, Ian, and thanks for joining us today. We're now going to take a look at the highlights of that Mulberry 100-mile race for historic Grand Prix cars from that 1990 event.
Great.
But now to the first event of this Christie's International Historic Meeting in our programme, the Mulberry 100-mile race, Part 1, featuring cars like Willie Green on the front row of the grid in the ex-Fangio Maserati, and Peter Hannon in the Connaught that Archie Scott Brown drove to victory. But for many, the eyes are on Alain de Cadenet's Van Wall, for it was here in 1956 that Van Wall won their first Grand Prix victory, and on the V12 250F Maserati that raced but rarely in the works' hands. We're on board with Stephen Griswold at the start of the first part of the Mulberry race. While up the pit road goes a Largo Talbot. It could be Duncan Hamilton or Johnny Clays from the 40s or 50s. The smell and the sound of the 50s Grand Prix cars interspersed with some 40s and pre-war cars get away under the bridge at Silverstone. And straight into the lead, it's Willie Green. Watch the Connaught on the inside. And the Van Wall well up there as well. Through go the ERAs. They featured here in the 40s and right the way up to 1951. As round Copse Corner and down towards Beckett's goes Green in the lead. All three of the Works 250F Maseratis of 1957, Fangio's last championship year, racing here as they go round Beckett's Corner. Out onto the Hanger Straight now, and it's this part of the circuit that will change dramatically into the 90s. Green in the lead, Hannon behind him. In third place, still the Maserati, and watch the Van Wall there in fourth place. Out through Club Corner, in through Abbey Curve, past the farm on the right-hand side, where Tony Brooks at the BRM had his huge accident in 1956. And into the chicane here at Woodcote, that of course was an entirely different complexion altogether back in the 50s, just as Woodcote will change into the 90s. Green and Hannon side by side as they come past the pits. Green goes back into the lead. Peter Hannon in the 2.5 litre outer engine Cannot pulls up alongside again. But the ex-Fangio car, which indeed the Maestro has been driving as part of a new film to be seen in 1991, is through there in the lead. The ERA Remus still in the hands of the Lindsay family. Ludovic Lindsay at the wheel. This car too has featured strongly in races at Silverstone in the past as Green comes once again into Beckett's. Hannon right behind him. Head forward. Watch the tail slide out and be corrected. The Cannot with a much lower rev range. And this is a pre-war 8C Maserati. Behind it, a famous P3 Alpha. These are Grand Prix cars of the 30s. Cannot passes 250F. Up comes Hannon under the bridge into the new Woodcote to snatch the lead. And Willie Green has to let him go this time. Understeer on the Cannot, a little oversteer there on the 250F. And the Van Wall now into third place. Side by side again, Green tries for the inside. As these two race up towards Copse Corner, the Van Wall slotted in behind Alain de Cadenet, who of course has won here in the 1,000 kilometres in a car of his own manufacture, famous for his Le Mans attempts to win. And the Van Wall going beautifully there in third place. Out now through Maggots and Beckett's once again. Green on the outside looking to outbrake. The Cannot manages it. The puff of smoke there as he changes down. And Hannon does not want to give way. Out onto the marbles, flicking the wheel to correct the car. And down the hanger straight. Ex-Grand Prix driver Guy Edwards retires the HWM, a car of the 50s. And we're on board now with Steve Griswold, under the bridge and into the new Woodcote. It is the soaring at the wheel. Tiny, minuscule amount of tyre on the road compared with a modern Grand Prix car. And the beautiful sound of that V12 engine, which in spite of being a V12, you'll get vibration from because of the space frame. Through comes Lindsay on the ERA, proving that the 30s cars can stay on this smooth circuit at Silverstone with cars of the 50s. And through comes the leader, Hannon, with the tail out, the Van Wall closing the gap down between itself and the Cannot. It was in 1956 at the International Trophy that Van Wall took its first victory here at Silverstone. They never won the British Grand Prix here, but superbly turned out. It's lovely to see one of these cars here again. And Van Wall comes up to look at Cannot. Hannon closes the door. The perfect lines of the Frank Coston designed car, which owed in its suspension design something to the late Colin Chapman as well, who sorted out the suspension for Tony Van der Velde. Moss, Brooks and Lewis Evans, the drivers in the 1958 Grand Prix at Silverstone. And up comes the Van Wall to look at the inside here, alongside the Cannot. And through goes de Cadenet. Now, can the Van Wall catch the Maserati? They were a match for them back in the 50s. Can they be here in the year of 1990 at Silverstone as Remus goes through? Another Cannot here painted in the Rob Walker colours. Tony Rolt used to drive for Rob Walker, the Le Mans winner of 1953. And more 250F Maseratis giving chase. Here is Green once again, using a bit of the concrete. The car set up beautifully as he comes through Woodcote. Willie Green twitching the car straight there as it comes out in a beautifully controlled power slide. And the Van Wall's blown up in almost an identical place that Moss's car blew up while chasing Collins in the 58 Grand Prix. Out comes white smoke from the Van Wall. There's indeed a serious engine problem there. Up goes Alain de Cadenet's hand, and in exactly the same place pretty well that Moss pulled off. Off goes de Cadenet into the paddock in an exactly similar manner. So de Cadenet looks down at an awfully expensive piece of machinery as the Cannot there, number 10, of David Duffy is pressed by the ERA. Ludovic Lindsay gets some opposite lock on there and closes him down a bit. Griswold with the Maserati. Brakes, changes down for Beckett's. Into Beckett's. Feeds the power on. Out comes the tail, opposite lock not on. And he spins it to a halt. He's facing the traffic. Gets the clutch out, keeps the engine running. Blips the engine. And away it goes back onto the circuit. The V12 engine was to make its debut years after it was first developed in 1966 in the 3-litre Cooper Maserati. As Green, with a modicum of opposite lock, comes through now, playing a little bit with the 250F there. Comes out through Woodcote, past the signage, in front of the stands here, twitches it sideways again. The Connaught still in second place, the Van Wall sadly gone. Willie Green comes through to win the first race here at the Christie's International Historic Festival in our programme, the Mulberry 100-mile race, Part 1. From Peter Hennon, David Duffy, Ludovic Lindsay, Steve Griswold and John Venables Llewellyn with the R4A ERA.
And now, Duncan, you raced at the 1990 event in the very same Alexis that you continue to race in the Formula Junior race at the Classic. That was one of the very first Alexis ever built. I mean, how much tender, loving care does a car need to keep it race ready?
Well, interestingly, that was only my second ever race in that car. And since then, I've done 628 races in the same car.
Wow.
Since that event. So what does it take? In the early days, I mean, I just put it on a trailer and it rolled up to the track and I rolled it off and we put air in the tires and petrol in the tank and went racing. Things have developed a little bit now. I got rather spoilt when we were in America and I had someone looking after it. And then since we've come back a few years ago, Ian Rowley now looks after it and takes it to the track. Also, it gives me more time to go and talk to other drivers and the like. But for a general Formula Junior, I mean, I would say that well over half of our drivers in the UK roll up with their own cars, do their own maintenance. Some still on lovely old Don Parker trailers, going back to the 1950s. There's more and more, perhaps, who have some professional attention. And on this continent, there's more than that. But it's a really affordable sport. I mean, it's terrific cars. They really are.
Formula Junior was always about providing drivers with an entry-level class. Because I was a little 8-year-old kid in the grandstands watching Jim Clark win his second Formula Junior race in that Lotus 18, racing against John Surtees. So I became a passionate fan of Jim Clark watching him racing in Formula Junior. And I mean, the great thing about it when it was introduced, that that teams, you could use inexpensive mechanical components from ordinary cars. To get started, you didn't have to have a huge financial investment. So, I mean, do you think your grid still provides that accessible opportunity, or the cars becoming a bit more expensive? And
no, well, I think in the context of overall prices, our cars are actually maintaining a very sensible level. I mean, you can get into Formula Junior around late £30,000 into a very nice car. Okay, not in the Lotus 27, but there's a Lotus 22 just come for sale in Australia. Very nice one, great history, full J chassis number and everything. It's only £70,000. Okay, you've got to get it back from Australia, but so you're talking of under £100,000, well under £100,000 for a very nice competitive car. And my goodness, it is really competitive now.
Me being a Formula Ford driver, we're only about £20,000 to £30,000. So you're a bit more.
Well, I wondered if you really still are. But anyway.
So of course you've always stuck to the front engine cars, the original juniors. Are you always happy there, or do you think maybe you'll change one day?
No, I certainly won't change now. But I have had the opportunity of racing other rear engine cars. I've raced 2 or 3 Lotus 18s. I've raced an Elva 200, which I really enjoyed and actually felt going really quite competitively at Goodwood. I owned and had restored Chris Lawrence's last Deep Sanderson Formula Junior, DS104. And I raced a Lotus 20 at Goodwood, not terribly successfully, but perhaps I was trying a little bit too hard.
You know the engine's in the wrong place, Duncan, on your car. Come on, own up. You know the engine is in the wrong place for a racing car.
No. I was brought up with dinky toys, and all my engine's absolutely the right place. It's all the others that got it wrong.
Now, you've been a part of the Silverstone Classic from the beginning. You know, what is it you think that makes this event so special for people?
Well, we all gather there. I mean, I get there on a Wednesday afternoon because I'm the sort of coordinator of our series. I welcome all the drivers. We have a special plan for them to fit into the garages. Somehow or other, we managed to get so many into a few garages. Everybody enjoys it. We have an acclimatation day on the Thursday. It gives us a chance to wander around the stalls, meet the Ted Walkers and Spencer Eltons of this world selling their wares, having a look at some of the car clubs, the Swallow Dorettis, the Allards.
A huge part of the car club in the middle.
Yes, the car clubs. It's tremendous, and we get such a good gathering.
Yeah. Well, we very much hope to see you. Yeah, we very much hope to see you then back at the wheel of your Lexus HF1 next summer, Doug. Thanks for joining us.
Fine, Tiff. Thank you very much indeed.
We mentioned at the start of the programme that Silverstone Auctions are hosting the Silverstone Classic live online auction this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. Well, here we have the man in charge of Silverstone Auctions, Nick Whale, who regularly takes part, with plenty of podium success, I might add, in the touring car races at the Classic.
So my best memory of the Silverstone Classic is going back to 2016, when not only were we auctioning and having a great auction, because it was the peak of the market, but we also did the touring car race, we being my son Harry and myself, and we won the touring car race and we had a great sale, which was really special. And then blow me down, we repeated that again in 2018. Happy days.
When putting this weekend of content together, many of you told us that the mini races last year were your standout moment. As it was the 60th anniversary of the iconic marque, there were plenty of celebrations with not only the incredible pair of races, but there was also a huge parade of minis led by the one and only rally legend Paddy Hopkirk. We've got the parade and Saturday's race to share with you now, but before we do that, we just want to share with you this little piece of video that Stephen Rees-Raybould sent us. Throughout the year, Stephen and his wife Lucy create displays that make people smile when they enter their hallway at home. With lockdown, there have been fewer visitors, so they've started to video the displays for more people to enjoy. Minis Racing is their display for July, in tribute to the Classic in its 30th anniversary year. Thanks for sharing this with us, Stephen. We hope you enjoy this weekend online.
This year marks the 60th anniversary of the legendary Mini, the groundbreaking little car designed by Sir Alec Issigonis that became a classless British style icon of the 1960s.
Its small design and front-wheel drive gave it impressive handling. When the Cooper Car Company got involved, it became a rallying legend, winning the Monte Carlo Rally 3 times.
The first of those wins came with Paddy Hopkirk, who I caught up with.
Paddy, it's always good to see you, but particularly here at the Silverstone Classic with not just the car, but the actual trophy that you received for winning the Monte Carlo Rally in 1964. How good does it feel to be reunited?
Well, it's very nice because the trophy has never been to Silverstone before. In fact, this is the trophy that Princess Grace handed on, Prince Rainier handed me 55 years ago, so it's lovely. And I actually took it to Monte 5 years ago for the 50th anniversary, and I met Prince Albert, and I showed it to him, and I said, your mum gave me this trophy, so...
It's a special year for the Mini, celebrating the 60th anniversary this year here at the Classic. You were partly responsible for making the Mini so famous, so iconic. That Monte Carlo win really thrust it centre stage, didn't it?
Will you tell Minnie that, please? No, I was lucky. Listen, the fact that it was the district nurse's car and all the Ford and Mercedes were spending a fortune trying to win the Monte Carlo Rally. I mean, we didn't know we were going to win it. We surprised ourselves. I was lucky to be the guy behind the wheel at the time, and the Swinging 60s was, it was big news because we ended up Sunday night in the Palladium, and I think 27 million viewers saw that with Bruce Forsyth. So it was a terrific era.
And completing this massive 57-car grid, number 22, Ellie Birchenhoff. Number 22 completes the grid. Whether they are all there, I doubt whether Alistair was counting them all as they went through, but certainly there's a huge number of them. And
certainly the front few rows are all there.
Right, well, there's a lot of minis, and at the moment heading into Stoke Corner, and the race will be underway at the end of the race. Probably will be underway at the end of this lap. You can see the pace car peeling off into the pit lane, and so the blue car Vendaf Owens, with alongside him Adam Morgan, who was grinning all over his face yesterday after he got out of the car, having qualified second fastest. And will be putting his BTCC skills and experience to good effect here now to see whether he can see off the very rapid Welsh driver, Endaf Owens. So here we go. They're not going to arrive at Abbey quite as soon as the Formula One cars did from the start, but here they come now, a whole pack of them. And how's it all going to unravel as they come into the corner for the first time? It's Adam Morgan in front of Endaf Owens. The red car of Endaf Owens dropping down. The blue car of Endaf Owens dropping down. And number 5 has gone a little bit stray. Lars Kornes, the Norwegian driver, getting back on the track now. No damage done. They're all piling in front of you now into Village.
Well, there's no doubt about the leading car, and it's Nick Swift's car, driven today, of course, by Adam Morgan, number 76. Wonderful start from him. And in second place is the red car of Ian Curley. Then it's one of the 2 white and black cars, very similar, so we'll wait till they come alongside us and we can perhaps pick up which of the 2 it is. It's the 142 car, which is Chris Morgan, who's up to 3rd place. Then it's the number 3 of Chris Middlehurst in 4th, and then another of those white and black ones, which could be either Tom Bell or Darren Turner.
Right, we've just got pulling off here. Niall McFadden in the number 66 car, the Irishman, I'm afraid didn't really get going at all off the line, and so he's now pulled off into the parking area on the outside of, well, out of the way, on the outside of Abbey. So the Mini is all pouring through. We've got amongst them, of course, the Mini Traveller. 21 is already beginning the Mini trend of old, which is to lose its wheel arch trim. That's Dave Edgecombe's car. And as they go, yes, Adam Morgan, you can see why he's a bit of a touring car star, can't you? Because, all right, he's got a quick car. Nick Swift builds very quick minis, but nonetheless, he's doing a great job up front, going through Cops Corner. Just slightly hesitating there because there was a Mini getting out of shape there. That's the number 30 car. Was it number 30? Can't be number 30. We haven't got a number 30, but it's blue anyway. Back on the track now. You've got the leaders.
We have, yes, and it's Mini expert Ian Curley who's caught up with the 76 car of Adam Morgan for the lead. So it's first and second, Morgan and Curley, and then next through is the 142 in 3rd place. Chris Morgan still holding on to that. Then number 3, Chris Middlehurst, and it was Darren Turner who was the black and white car in 5th place that's made it up there. So 2 non-specialist drivers up at the front.
Non-mini specialist drivers, absolutely.
That's what I mean, yes.
Side by side, in fact, changing places now. So into the lead has gone the red car of Ian Curley as they go through Stoke Corner then. Adam Morgan in 2nd place, fighting back. Massive understeer, that we didn't see which number it was as he understeered his way through Stoke Corner. Darren, the lead retaken by Adam Morgan into the corner. 2nd place is Ian Curley in the red car. And in 3rd place is not Chris Middlehurst, he's in 4th, isn't he? I think it's, well, we'll see as they go over the line. It's Chris Morgan, as Alistair said. Chris Middlehurst is 4th, Darren Turner is 5th. In 6th place is number 18, Aaron Smith. And in 7th place, Patrick Watts, number 103. You got them back.
I have, and they're 3 abreast into Village, and we're starting to see now the effect of the slipstream, because we're closing up the lead group. It's 6 cars for the lead at the moment, but it's still led by Adam Morgan, who's staying ahead of Ian Curley, who's been passed on the inside of the loop, but gets back ahead again of Chris Morgan. Then it's Chris Middlehurst next up, who goes very wide, the Kimi Räikkönen line from a couple of years ago, but thankfully gets back on the track safely.
Right, he's going to be able to make a break then, Adam Morgan. They're 3 abreast for 3rd place coming into Brooklands. Still 2nd is the red car of Ian Curley, number 40, but there's a lot of place shuffling going on for 3rd. There's Chris Middlehurst in the green number 3 car. So has Adam Morgan made a break? I don't think so. He's going to have Ian Curley right there with him very soon. There's number 18, you can see on the screen there, that's Aaron Smith. Adam Morgan and Chris Morgan, no relation as far as I'm aware. Adam Morgan is his who leads, from Ian Curley in the red car in 2nd place. And Chris Morgan in the number 142 car in 3rd place. But I don't think 4th will be the same as it was when you last saw them. Here they come.
And they are, yes, and it's the 2 white and black cars, and it's Chris Morgan followed by Darren Turner, who's now up to 4th place. And Darren Turner tries to slip through on the inside at Beckett's, but has to drop back behind. And behind Darren Turner is number 3, Chris Middlehurst, so he's lost a place as they head off down through Chapel Curve and back onto the Hanger Straight. And I think we might have 7 in the lead group very shortly.
Well, we've certainly got 5, and the 6th car is almost there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the leading group. Adam Morgan still leads that group. Then we've got a car that's trying to be part of the leading group, is well clear of the main pack, which is Jeff Smith, number 18, Aaron Smith. 2 white cars running side by side, the 2 leaders running side by side as they come into the left-handed element of Club Corner, and Adam Morgan gets into there first ahead of Ian Curley. Chris Morgan running side by side with Darren Turner. Darren Turner, number 81, who's now come through into 3rd place. But Chris Morgan staying with him around the outside. No, Darren Turner through. So Darren Turner is now 3rd. Rather different experience from racing an Aston Martin GT car, which is what Darren mainly does as far as racing goes. Comes through Abbey. And there is that little bit of daylight opening up behind Adam Morgan's car. Alistair, what do you think?
Yes, there is a little bit, but that may all evaporate when they get onto the Wellington Straight, for example, where... Oh, and going straight on was number 76, Adam Morgan. I don't know what happened there, whether he just left his braking a fraction too late, but he's dropped down into 6th place and off the lead group. Just seemed to go straight on at Village, across the grass and back onto the track. So now leading is 46 Ian Curley, from 81 Darren Turner, from 142 Chris Morgan, 3 Chris Middlehurst, and then the maroon car Aaron Smith, number 18, and then we get the erstwhile leader Adam Morgan.
What a strange mistake to make, but anyway, he's made it and he's dropped down the order, but no, he'll fight back. Darren Turner then has worked his way calmly through to the lead from starting on the 3rd row in the number 81 car, the Aston Martin long-time driver. So Ian Curley still 2nd. It is going to be a bit of like a Formula Ford race in the sense of slipstream. You don't want to lead on to the last lap, but the last lap is still some way away. Just another 9 minutes of the race remain. It's a question of being in the right place at the start of the last lap. But Darren Turner now beginning to break away, doing what Adam Morgan was doing earlier on. As they come out of Woodcote, past the Heritage pits. Darren Turner leads, Ian Curley is 2nd. Chris Morgan having a look on the inside line to try and take 2nd place away. And Chris Middlehurst joining in. And behind Chris Middlehurst, we have number 18, Aaron Smith. And then we have the earlier leader, Adam Morgan.
Well, it's all changed because Chris Middlehurst passed 2 cars going through Maggots into Beckett's, so he's up to 2nd, chasing after Darren Turner, who definitely has made a break. Whether he can break the toe and continue to pull away, we'll see. But Darren Turner leads by many mini car lengths.
Yes, which isn't a long way, but I know what you mean. Several mini car lengths, certainly he has. So Darren Turner now edging away from the pursuing pack, headed by number 3, Chris Middlehurst. Chris Morgan still 3rd. Ian Curley, the one who's lost out on that lap. Oh, and he gets very... Oh, sorry, I shouldn't get alarmed by that. That's normal mini cornering. Ian Curley in 4th place. Lead us into Club Corner. And this breakaway movement by Darren Turner looks to be effective. He's opening up a margin. 7 minutes and 20 seconds remain. Adam Morgan has recovered to 1 place. He's got back ahead of Aaron Smith in the number 18 car. Leaders heading up towards Abbey, and certainly Darren Turner's lead is going to be a difficult one to be taken away by Chris Middlehurst. But Chris Middlehurst was showing great pace in qualifying yesterday until the CV joint failed, so he could well get back on terms with the leader.
And Chris Middlehurst and Chris Morgan going with him. A little bit of a break between them and the 4th placed car of Ian Curley. Then it's the recovering Adam Morgan, as you say, who's already made up a couple of places, and he's now on the back of that leading group again. So there's every chance that Adam Morgan will make his way back towards the podium positions. Great recovery after that moment at Village a couple of laps ago.
Yes, he is heading that way, but still a bit of work to do in the remaining 6 minutes and 20 seconds. So Darren Turner into Brooklands. Adam Morgan trying to find a way around the red car, number 46 of Ian Curley. They're both right up behind Chris Morgan. But the leader, Darren Turner, looks to be almost impregnable now. But then strange things can happen in mini racing, as we are about to see probably. Ian Curley passed by Adam Morgan and also passes Chris Morgan. So that brings Adam Morgan back into, I think Chris Morgan's got a problem, hasn't he? We've got Darren Turner leading. Second is Chris Middlehurst. Third is Adam Morgan now, taking Ian Curley with him. And yeah, I'm afraid that Chris Morgan's got a problem, number 142, having run so well with the leading group in the early part of the race. 5.5 minutes to go. They're back with you, Alistair.
Into Beckett's once again, and Darren Turner continues to hold that good lead over Chris Middlehurst, and Adam Morgan now up onto that 3rd spot of the podium, but he's got Ian Curley right behind him. Then it's Aaron Smith, number 18, next up.
75, Simon Evans, his car parked on the side of the circuit. I think something must have broken it, isn't it? Because it's actually got stuck in the gravel. But whatever happens with him, meanwhile the leaders come down towards Stowe for the 5th time. Last time around, incidentally, Darren Turner, having hit the front, did the fastest lap of the race. Adam Morgan with Ian Curley still shadowing him, as he has been through much of the race, whether it was when Adam was leading the race or now when he's fighting his way back towards the podium. They're side by side coming into club, and the green car just hangs on in front. And out of club, it's still just Adam Morgan in front. But over the line, Darren Turner leads with another new fastest lap by 1.8 seconds from Chris Middlehurst. With Adam Morgan 30 and Curley 4th, Aaron Smith 5th. Michael Caine is coming into the picture now with a sparring partner Patrick Waltz. Michael Caine 6th, Patrick Waltz 7th. And Phil House has come from the middle of the grid. That's a mighty drive by Phil House, former Monoposto Formula champion and Volkswagen champion. Phil House in 8th place now, number 115. That's a very impressive drive because he was way down the grid, much further back than I would have expected to find him. So Phil House very much coming into the reckoning now.
The leaders through Aintree, and very much drying track now. Very little spray from these small tyres, and it's Darren Turner who leads going down towards Brooklands, but it looks to me as though Adam Morgan has shaken off for the moment the attentions of Ian Curley for that 3rd, 4th place battle.
Yes, just about perhaps. Through Luffield then, Darren Turner leads the way. His margin at the start of the lap, 1.8 seconds, another new fastest lap he set. Of course they can't, so they should slow down a little bit at Luffield at the moment because the car's Simon Evans and stuck in the gravel. But a heave-ho from the marshals, and that car, I would have thought, would get back onto the track. A Scottish Mini, you could tell from the saw tower on the side of the car. Now, the challenge of a Mini shouldn't be beyond the marshals, they reckon, but it may be, even a Mini. Leaders going through Copse Corner and back up towards you. There's 103, that's the car Patrick Watts with Michael Caine either just ahead or just behind him, and Philip House there close too. You've got the leaders at Beckett's.
We have, yes. Yellow flag zone up here for something out at Chapel, and leaders go through. no change of place, but Adam Morgan has seemed to have managed to pull away a little bit, so he's trying to chase after Chris Middlehurst, who in turn, of course, is chasing after Darren Turner as they go down the Hanger Straight.
No, I think they probably reached what the ultimate of what they can achieve now as they come onto Hanger Straight for the 6th time, and we'll have time for one more lap after this. So it's Darren Turner, Chris Middlehurst, Adam Morgan, Ian Curley, Aaron Smith, Michael Caine, Patrick Watts, Phil House. In 9th place is 244 Tom Bell, who's often the front runner in these cars. Endaf Owens, remember he started from the front of the grid. Endaf Owens was on pole position, but he's now in 10th place. Clearly all is not well with this car, I suspect. There's 44 Michael Caine, who's now worked his way ahead of Aaron Smith. So Michael Caine now into 5th place. Through they go on to the last lap. Michael Caine in the, what sort of colour is that? Pale green, pastel shade of green, Michael's car. Chris Middlehurst now has the fastest lap in his attempt to close the gap down. He's succeeded to some extent. He's down to 1.2. It's 1.8 seconds first to second. He's now 1.2.
Yes, visually you can see they're closer as they come into the loop. Darren Turner being caught by Chris Middlehurst, and your man Phil House has made up another place. He's up at the back of that group, so he's in 6th place.
And he'll soon count.
Sorry, 7th.
Yeah. Next one to catch is going to be Aaron Smith, I think.
That's correct, yes, and he's battling with Michael Caine, so there's 2 there to be had if he can make it.
Well, certainly Chris Middlehurst is putting in a very strong challenge in the closing stages as Darren Turner clips the curb there, hops onto 3 wheels, back onto 4, and comes sideways sliding there by Chris Middlehurst, who has been a Formula 4 champion in the past, Formula 4 1600 champion, race winner in the BRDG Formula 4 championship as well, Chris Middlehurst. Father Andy, a very successful competitor in both modern and now historic racing. He's very much a motor racing family with the Middlehurst. Darren Turner into Copse Corner with Chris Middlehurst closing up, but I don't think he's going to get close enough for the last part of the last lap. The 2 leaders back with you at Maggots, Alistair.
Indeed, yes, both with headlights on. 3rd placed Adam Morgan is now well clear of Ian Curley, but the 2 drivers ahead are quick enough to stay ahead of him, so those positions look fairly stable. Michael Caine has pulled away from Aaron Smith, and Smith, I think, will now come under attack from Phil House and Patrick Watts.
Leaders then onto the Hanger Straight for the final time. Bit of bonnet flapping going on both the leading cars, I see, but into Stoke Corner turns Darren Turner. There's the 2nd place car, number 3 of Chris Middlehurst. However late he brakes, he's not going to be able to get on terms with Darren, who flicks the tail of the car out nicely. Looks like he's been driving and racing minis all his life. And he comes out of the final corner, and Darren Turner wins the first part of the Mini Celebration Trophy presented by Adrian Flux, because they can do it all again tomorrow. So he gets the checkered flag to win. Darren Turner will be very pleased with that. Chris Middlehurst, who's not exactly a Mini expert, he's done more single-seater racing, but he has raced this Mini for the last couple of years. And on the last lap, Chris does the fastest lap of the race at 2:49.189. Adam Morgan is 3rd after that moment that Alistair told us about. In 4th place, Ian Curley. 5th, Michael Caine. 6th, Aaron Smith. 7th, Phil House. 8th, Tom Bell. 9th, Endaf Owens, and 10th is Patrick Watts. So Endaf Owens seems to get going again. Obviously lost time with a big moment somewhere. But entertainment for the Minis. They, I think, possibly were spoken to by the clerk of the course before the race and asked to behave themselves. I think it's fair to say that they did. And because 1 or 2 picked up penalties from the Transatlantic Trophy qualifying session yesterday. So the very large entry, let's just see whether I can tell from the screen how many of that huge entry have actually got to the finish. Most of them have. Yes, 56 cars started and only about 6 have not made it to the flag. 6 or 7. So 50 cars finishing the race is a pretty impressive outcome, and they're all fit and ready to race again tomorrow. We'll have them back in the pit lane shortly. Darren Turner, winner longer ago than he cared to remember of the McLaren Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award back in the 1990s, on the back of which he became a test driver for McLaren, and then signed a contract to drive for Aston Martin in sports car racing, and he's been with them for something like 17 years. But with no previous known history of racing a Mini, he's done it right this time. And that's a Morris, isn't it? Darren's car. Yeah, Morris Cooper S. Tell by the grille on the badge. So confirmation of the result there. First, Darren Turner. In fact, Morris Cooper S is finishing in the third top 3 places, which for somebody who used to own a Morris Cooper S, I find very satisfying. Darren Turner first, number 81. Second, number 3, Chris Middlehurst. Third, number 76, Adam Morgan. Fourth, the first of the Austin Cooper S's, Ian Curley. Fifth, Michael Kane, number 44. Sixth, Aaron Smith, number 18. Seventh, number 115, Phil House. Eighth, number 244, Tom Bell. Ninth, number 20, Endaf Owens. And 10th, number 103, Patrick Watts. 11th, number 101, Stephen Woodrow. 12th, number 45, David Ogden. 13th, number 88, Nick Paddy. 14th, Barry Syme. Number 25. 15th, Graham Churchill. 16th, number 5, Lars Ekornes, who had a moment early on. 17th, number 117, Ben Hatton. 18th, number 711, Dan Lewis. And that's as far as I can take them. Well, I can actually go on to another side. Tim Stanbridge was 19th. And 20th was number 29. And that was Robert Spencer. Right, Andrew's probably in the pit lane. Maybe able to go have a word with a delighted Darren. Great happiness down there. Andrew, can you
yes,
grab a word
indeed. Darren in his full Aston Martin gear here, just embracing all the team, and get his crash helmet off in a second. Well, and the hands device comes off. And all the congratulations. Fantastic. I didn't know you were a Mini racer.
I didn't know myself, but after that, yeah, what a joy to be out there racing. I mean, big grid of Minis, fantastic because the conditions were changing all the time, and just sort of plucked away until I got in the lead. But I don't know who came second. I know it was a green car, but yeah, definitely another lap or two, and
well, that was Chris Middlehurst, but yeah. I mean, it was the typical Mini racing that you would have seen 40 years ago. Absolutely fantastic.
It was good, really good fun. I like the changing conditions, and yeah, this car was fantastic to drive. Yeah. So great job by Raceworks and everyone else.
It did dry out quite a lot, didn't it, Darren?
Yeah, there was patches which were dry line near enough, and then there was other bits that are still damp. So as you came down from Stowe into Vale, still quite damp through there, but other parts of the track was pretty dry. So yeah, really good fun. Loved it.
So 4 days ago, presumably you were testing at Barcelona with the Aston, were you?
Yeah, we're down in Barcelona for the prologue for WEC, so completely different weather conditions down there. Beautiful blue skies and very hot track temperatures, but yeah, completely different type of driving altogether.
Well done. Off to the podium for Darren Turner. What a good job.
Celebration of Minis this weekend for the Silverstone Classic, and what a way to get that celebration underway on the racetrack with the Mini Celebration Trophy presented by Adrian Flux. Drivers onto the podium, they'll be presented, delighted to say we have the president of the BRDC here, synonymous with the brand of Mini. Paddy Hopkirk will make the presentation in a couple of moments. Welcome, Paddy, lovely to have you here. Let's get the drivers on the podium in reverse order. In third place, number 76, Adam Morgan. Current BTCC driver and race winner. Good to have you here, Adam. Well done. Congratulations. In second place, number 3, Chris Middlehurst. Well done, Chris. Congratulations. And on the top step of the podium, not known for Mini racing, but did rather well today, number 81, Darren Turner. Well done, Darren. Gets a nice cheer from the crowd as well. And Paddy, would you like to step forward and make the presentation over at the far end of the podium? First of all, to third place, Adam Morgan, who's not only got a cap, he's also got an Adrian Flux goodie bag. I wonder what's in the goodie bag. and a third place silver trophy as well, along with a couple of words from Paddy. And then down to this end where Chris Middlehurst is standing by for Paddy's presentation, the Masters cap, the Adrian Flux goodie bag, and the second place trophy, and a handshake from Paddy. And then on to our winner on the top step of the podium, about to receive a Masters cap, an Adrian Flux goodie bag, and a garland around the neck of our victor. Well done, Darren. Congratulations. There's the goodie bag as well. And Paddy lifts up the very large winner's trophy and presents it to Darren Turner. Well done, Darren. Thank you, Paddy, for making the presentation. I've got a question from Paddy for Darren in a couple of moments. Now, if we can have all three drivers bunch up together on the top step of the podium, so we have a nice shot of you with your trophies and all on the top step of the podium. There we go. They sort their caps out, and there's the very big trophy for Darren Turner. And they smile for the cameras click away. And what a treat we get when we have the Minis racing with us. Fantastic stuff. Well done, guys. Congratulations. Let's have a quick word with Darren Turner. I know you just spoke to Andrew down in the pit lane, but Paddy was asking me, how much brake horsepower do you have in that little car?
I wasn't sure. So Chris, I think, answered the question. It's like over 100 horses, I think, at the wheels, maybe, whatever that means.
What you're used to when you're racing?
No, we've normally got a bit more horsepower, but it's all at the rear, not at the front. So it's a bit tricky to understand where the grip level is. And with all these cars around you, it was so much fun. Those first sort of 3-4 laps were just fantastic fun.
During qualifying yesterday, there were some drivers that were coming up to me that have been doing mini racing for years and years, saying, Darren Turner's a bit quick, isn't he?
Yeah, I think there's no brakes on these cars, so I don't want to be, barreling into corners left, right, and centre. And at the beginning of that race, I was just trying to sort of keep out of trouble. It got quite feisty in a few moments, but it was just great fun to watch. The angle these cars get through the corners. It was one of those things where you're sort of grinning behind the crash helmet and just enjoying the spectacle of it all, let alone being part of the race itself.
Did you hear what he just said, everybody? He won the race and he said it was great fun to watch. So it was for us as well.
Good. I mean, the only bit I wasn't enjoying was when Chris was gaining on the last few laps. So I was thinking, I don't know how long this race is, but I'll just keep going and hopefully we'll run out and the checker flag will be out soon.
Well done, Darren. Many congratulations. I'm going to talk to Chris about those last couple of laps. The camera's over there, so look to the front if you would, please, Chris. But yeah, the last couple of laps, they were interesting. You needed a few more.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just closing in on Darren there in the end and try to keep it clean and on the circuit. But yeah, absolutely crazy race. 60 minis out there in the absolute element out there. So big thanks to Swift Tune Engineering for giving me the great car and great engine. And yeah, Swift Tune 1, 2, 3 there in the end. So fantastic.
They just make for superb racing, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So close, so evenly matched. The first lap was very hectic, but yeah, kept it on and yeah, pulled through for second. So yeah, absolutely.
Chris. Well done, Chris. Many congratulations. Adam Morgan, finally, we'll talk to him. Why weren't you on the top step then, Adam?
I got a bit carried away. I saw a bit of a gap behind me and I thought, right, this is the lap I need to go. And should have realised it don't matter if I was 6 car lengths ahead, the toe is just incredible on these things. And unfortunately, schoolboy error locked up into turn 3 and went straight on. And I think Darren was hoping the race would end quickly and I was hoping it would go on for longer, but just a great fun, a smile from ear to ear. So massive thank you to Swift Tune Engineering. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Super stuff. Thank you, guys. Well done. Great race. Fantastic. That's our mini celebration trophy race presented by Adrian Flux, and the trophies presented by the president of the BRDC, synonymous with Mini, Paddy Hopkirk.
A reflection of the last 30 years of racing at the Classic just wouldn't be complete without a word from Ian Titchmarsh. His voice will be familiar to you all as he's been a stalwart of the commentary team since the very first event. Ian's race memory is phenomenal, so we wanted to get a word or two from him about the best races the Classic has seen. So welcome, Ian. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, Louise.
Just take us back to that very first event. What do you think provided the best spectacle there?
Well, as you can imagine, I've seen an awful lot of races at various Silverstone historic festivals and classics over the years, over 30 years it is. I suppose that what still stands out in my mind is the super sports race for the Can-Am and Inter-Series cars, because I can still visualize in my mind the battle that went on between the two front runners, Charlie Agg and Sir John Whitmore in the big McLarens, the 8.8 litre McLaren Can-Am cars. to see those going side by side, this around the old Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, not the one we have today, was really something rather special. And that, I suppose, is a highlight that I don't really have to look up to check my memory, because I could still remember it now.
Clear as day. We've got some twilight race action as well to share tomorrow night with something a bit special from 2001.
Well, in 2001 was the year, I have to just check that I got the right one. This was the one where, in the end, it was won by Gary Pearson and Graham Hathaway in a Silk-Cut Jaguar, an XJR11. And the whole idea concept, there hadn't been up to that point that many dark nighttime races. There had been a touring car race that ended in the dark. Well, that was around about the same time, yes, 1999, 2000. But nighttime racing, other than the Will Hire 24-hour race at Snetterton, was a rare event. And the idea of having Le Mans cars, Le Mans type cars, the real Le Mans cars, racing at Silverstone into the dark was really something very special. And Gary Pearson, who drove the winning car, is probably the most successful driver over the years. He was racing at the first one, and he's racing almost certainly next year. He certainly was racing this year. And he is one of the star drivers of the Classic over the years.
For me, that's one of the most evocative events on the whole bill. I absolutely love watching the British cars as the sun goes down. It's amazing. I'm with you there. Now, if I were to ask you to pick out just 3 races over the last decade from all the races that you've commentated on, which 3 would you go for?
Well, of course, as I said earlier on, I mean, there are there are literally hundreds of races to choose from. One that still sticks in the memory, because it wasn't that long ago, so the memory can cope with this. It was somebody you know from touring car racing, Jake Hill, who had an outing in a Lotus Elan. It was in a GT race, 1-hour GT race, and he took the car over from its owner halfway through, and was normally these races are won by AC Cobras, TVR Tuscans, E-Type Jaguars, sort of thing. And Jake just managed to keep this on but it's still a fast circuit, even though it's revised from what it was in the early days of the historic festival. He managed to keep this little white Elan. It was quite a comic sight, actually, because there were the 3 dark-coloured TVR, Daytona Cobra, and an ordinary Cobra, AC Cobra, sort of trying to descend on this little scuttling mouse of a Lotus Elan. And Jake kept it in front all the way to the finish. And it was really an amazing sight. And he was the driver of the weekend. It was a tremendous performance. And since then, when he's not racing touring cars, he's established quite a following in historic racing. So that's one of them. Another one was the Formula One race. Historic Formula One has been an essential part of the Silverstone Classic over the years. But in 2014, we had a race that was described by Autosport as just like Formula Ford, because we had Martin Stretton and a number of other top drivers in these Cosworth DFV engine Formula One cars, all looking different, not like today when all the cars are the same, even though they're painted differently. Some are pink, I gather. But the shapes of the cars, all with the same engine, provided some spectacular racing. Michael Lyons came through from 9th row of the grid to finish in 4th place. It really was, yes, as Autosport said, it was like growing up Formula Ford. And the third one was a battle with what occasionally Rob Huff, touring car world champion and so on, dabbles in historic racing. In fact, it's where he began with an MGB all those years ago. And he had a battle against James Dodd in Super Tourers. Rob was in a Mondeo, James in a Honda. And they finished, I can't remember the gap, it was something like 7/10 of a second apart. It was an absolutely brilliant race. Rob with limited experience of a Super Tourer, James with quite a bit of experience of these cars. And that's another one that stands out.
Well, the good news is we're going to be sharing those 3 races over the course of the weekend, so you get to enjoy them all over again.
Very good.
Ian, as always, good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Alzheimer's Research UK became the official charity of the Classic last year and hosted our first fun run around the circuit. Embracing the online 30th anniversary party with us, they've held a virtual fun run this year to help raise some much needed funds for their important cause. Here's a message from Alzheimer's Research UK talking about the charity's relationship with the Classic and with more on the fun run.
We were delighted to be chosen as the charity partner of the Silverstone Classic last year. At Alzheimer's Research UK, we understand the importance of preserving and celebrating those classic moments in life. And finding a cure for dementia is just as important now as ever. People living with dementia have been among some of the hardest hit by COVID-19, with 1 in 4 people who have died from the virus in England and Wales also having dementia. Unfortunately, Alzheimer's Research UK expects a drop in up to 45% of its funds as a result of COVID-19, but you can help. One of our favourite memories from last year's Classic was the charity fun run on the Friday night. Whilst we can't all be on the track together to complete the run, we've been inviting you to do a 5k run near your home and share photos of you completing the run. We just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has supported this and supported us virtually with their fun runs. You are helping to make breakthroughs in dementia research possible, and we look forward to inviting you back to the track at the Silverstone Classic again next year.
Well, I'm afraid that's it for today.
But we look forward to seeing you in the morning for more of your classic moments.